Hello there. I've let the glue dry on the new bindings, and now I have to level them to the sides of the neck. And I use a card scraper for this. Card scraper is a fantastic tool for leveling things off, but I use a card scraper quite a bit to shape things, and you'll see that later in this video when it comes to shaping the neck. If you look at the edge of the neck where the binding meets the neck, you'll see that there's a flat. I did not bring the very edge of the fretboard to a round shape, because I wanted to wait until I scrape this binding, and then I will do final shaping of the neck to bring that to kind of a modern sort of C-shape neck shape. So but now I made this scraper myself. I have one that was given to me that I use and like quite a bit. This is a bit heavier duty one. What I did was I had an old saw plate that was like really cheap for me to buy. It wasn't a cheap saw plate. It was a well-made saw, but it didn't cost me very much at all, like a couple of dollars, and it was basically the same type of teeth, the same number of teeth and all that of a saw that I already had. And so, and the handle the steel was good, but the handle was plastic, and it wasn't a saw that I would want to use as much. I like the older Dixon or whatever you call it, and a couple of the others, the warranted type saws, as far as American hand saws go. And so I just used the saw plate I cut out. I have two just like this, and I just cut out a rectangular piece of wood, or I'm sorry, a rectangular piece of steel from that saw plate, and turned it into a card scraper. And they are very easy to make if you have good steel like that, and they're worth the time it takes to make them, because they do a job that a lot of things can't do. This kind of stuff, the thing about a card scraper is sort of like a sharp plane, but finer. You see the wood is curling away from that edge, and what you get is a really nice smooth finish that you really don't even have to sand if you don't want to. And now what I'm doing is one of the sides, the binding was a little bit taller than the fretboard, and I'm just trimming it down with a sharp chisel. And the thing of it is if you're going to use edged tools like chisels, plane blades, or that scraper, or anything of the sort, you want, even like a handsaw, you want to learn to sharpen a saw. You want the thing to be sharp as you can get it, because sharp tools leave a much nicer finish than sandpaper does. And if you're having trouble using a chisel or a plane or anything like that, it's probably because your blade is not sharp, or you're moving in a direction that goes against the grain. There's a part in this video you won't see, but I used this side was higher, and here I am with a radius block. But the other side was a little bit lower, just a tiny little bit. lower than the fretboard was thick. I used what I had on hand and made it work. And I used a plane to kind of level that one side with the lower binding, and I took a chunk out of the fretboard down in the higher register because I ended up planing against the grain by accident. And I'll have to repair that after I get frets in. But we'll show that too. And here I am now. I'm taking this is a Farrier's rasp. It has a double cut bastard file on one side and then a rasp on the other. You can see the rasp facing up now, but I'll end up flipping it over because the rasp will cut faster. But I am beginning to shape the final shape of the neck now. I'm bringing that flat into a round and blending it into the binding. And you see I flipped over to the rasp side. And this is a fantastic tool for things like this. And I will go back and forth between the rasp side and the file side because I'll use the rasp to take off a lot of wood. Then I'll use the file side to kind of smooth the wood out a bit from where the deep scratches from the rasp are. And now I've turned the neck around and I'm working on the other side. You can see how deep that rasp cut. Sometimes that's what you need. It's something that'll remove a lot of steel, or I'm sorry, a lot of wood rather, really fast. And so now you see the scraper coming to action. What I'm doing is cleaning up what's left over of the rough marks from the file, and also doing a kind of final shaping of the back of the neck. And I love a card scraper for this. This one is the one that was given to me. Somebody actually purchased it. It has a round end and then a concave end so that you see it right there. You can use it to shape curves with. And I'm kind of cleaning up the transition between the head plate and the neck. And kind of trying to clean up the volute, which is that raised portion at the bottom of the headstock where it joins to the neck. And this one is a V shape, and I'm using a small triangular file. That's actually a saw file for sharpening a saw, but it's small enough to get into what I need to get into. Kind of try to shape this volute and clean it up and make it look more defined. And so now I'm using that concave end of the scraper to scrape the radius of the neck. And working that flat part as well, just whatever if I think that I need to take off a lot of wood in certain areas, I'll resort to the flat side of it, and then here you see me moving back to the rounded portion, the concave portion, to kind of clean it up. And it's just, you know, patience, checking things out with your hands to see how it feels. And your hands, see me doing that there, your hands will tell you a lot more about how smooth and how level. You know, if I've got any dips or bumps and that, my hand will feel it. My eye might not see it, but my hand will feel it. So I'm constantly feeling the neck until I get it as even as I can possibly can on both sides. But yeah, if you want to work wood, I would recommend definitely that you find a card scraper or make a card scraper. Learn how to sharpen it and use it, because it is one of the easiest tools to use, and it's really, I would not want to be without one. Actually, I would not want to be without 2 or 3 or more of them. But now I'm shaping where the neck meets the heel, and that card scraper is a fantastic tool for that. The concave portion will be used some as well. Just, you can work a surface down where it's very smooth, and you can shape it really well, and it looks like that it's not removing a lot, but you can remove a lot of wood really fast with this card scraper if you've got the thing sharp. And now I'm coming back with, this is 220 grit sandpaper, to try to smooth out any contours, blend any angles or any flat spots or anything like that together, so that the neck looks and feels the way that it should. And feeling it. This is not a final sanding, this is a final shaping. And I will do a final sanding right before we start to finish the instrument, because it'll oxidize a little bit as it sets. And so I want to take some sandpaper and remove the surface before I put a finish on, or before I glue. And that's a finished product for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.